Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We are here once again as three and out, but just flying solo. So, we actually got this off a little later than we had hoped. Um, Unfortunately, life and days, and so we thought we'd be able to do it tonight, but unfortunately, some things came up last minute for Jason, so it's just me again. Uh, and so it's actually Wednesday. It's unfortunately. So we're gonna talk on a few things here. Look at that. Hey, let me go back to the beginning here. Um, we're gonna talk just a few things about the Browns, some Buckeyes, a little Cavs preview as they tip off here in about a half hour. Just some thoughts on their season and where we might be headed. So hang in there, hang with me. One of the things that we'd love to hear from you guys, just things that you guys want us to talk about, topics that might be interesting, but also your thoughts on the things we do talk about. So feel free to leave some comments, make them respectful, please. And otherwise, hopefully next week I'll definitely have Jason back, and Michael keeps threatening to come back. Just things keep popping up with him. So, without any further ado, let's start talking a little bit of Browns. And hey, they won. You can see my enthusiasm. I don't know. I honestly don't know how to feel about it. I'm conflicted. And not because they won. I love it. I'm a Browns fan. I want them to win. But the Dolphins were so bad. So bad. Like I don't know that a team could play any less inspired than what I saw from the Dolphins. So good thing, and I was hoping he'd be here to talk, but Jason was actually on site for the game. He actually went to the game, got to tailgated, and I wanted him to be able to speak on the crowd's reaction and kind of the vibe there with the team that's going in with one win and at 1-5, and just what it felt like. Were Browns fans walking around moping? Were they just happy to be back because it's been a month? So maybe next week if he's back on, he can speak a little bit to that. But Tua, what do we have? We forced 4 turnovers, 3 of them interceptions by Tua. Does Tyreek Hill really make that much of a difference? And obviously, the weather conditions were horrible. They were awful. Wasn't as windy as it was at least originally thought to be, but the weather did kick up. A lot of rain, wet. But man, did he not look good. Some of the interesting things about the Browns, when you talk about defensively, what they did is they've been primarily a man team, and I saw a stat. I can't remember how many times Tua threw, 37, 38, something like that, in coverage. Not in passing, but when the defensive backs drop back in coverage, 33 of them, I think it was 33 of them, they dropped back in zone. And going into the game, they were by far and away the team that played the most man. So kind of an interesting thing to keep an eye on, now with Campbell, who also is a man guy, although he played, talk about a guy playing well. He played extremely well. That play where he caught Devin Achane from behind. Devin Achane was a college level, high level sprinter. Now, so was Campbell. But just not something you see often on the football field. So, but defensively they played well, and it was nice to see the defense come back. But the Dolphins were so bad. It's like I don't know what to think. It's just hopefully the defense can continue that, and we'll find out as this week we play New England, who's a much better team on the road, and so again, I'm conflicted about the win, not because we won, just because of who we beat, because they were so bad. So staying with defense, the other thing was Miles had a sack, a couple of tackles for loss, and a couple QB hits. He looked better, but so did everybody. So again, I don't know. And the blitzing, that's actually the other thing. So we did a lot more zone than we traditionally have been under Schwartz, but they also, it's weird because you saw those blitzes where Schlesinger blitzed, and was it Delpit blitzed, and statistically speaking, the Browns actually blitzed less than they usually do, but they did it where it was much. It was disguised a lot more. It was hidden a lot more. Like it came from different areas, some delayed blitzes, things that, hopefully, again, Schwartz will continue to use, because I thought it was effective, even against a bad team. It was effective. I think it can be good against good teams as well. Other guys defensively played well. Alex Wright, Grant Delpit had the forced fumble on special teams and the interception. Campbell had the pick six. I thought Rayshon Jenkins, I barely heard his name all year. He played really well. So, what do we hold them to? They had a little over 200 yards. They actually had more offensive yards than we did, believe it or not, as bad as they were. Our offense wasn't much better. But offensively, the statistics were about identical for the two teams. And so both teams were bad offensively. And that's part of the reason I'm like, I don't know how I feel. The Wildcat went on the goal line. Thought that was a cool wrinkle. Apparently they put it in this week for weather. But I think there's some things they can do out of that. That you got, the option, because they had, I forget who was back there with Judkins, but you have that, so you can run that option. You can do kind of those jump passes they do from time to time. So there's some. It'd be interesting to see if they use it again, or if that was a one-off because of the weather. And I thought offensively they were a little more creative than they have been. We have the most vanilla offense, and I thought for once we actually showed some creativity, some designed, screens that were good and things. Is Stefanski growing as a coach? No, I'm not going to go that far. I think it was more they were playing a bad team, knew they were playing a bad team, so they tried some things that if they didn't work, they could probably still get away with. It's my opinion, for what it's worth. I don't know if Jason or Mike feel different, but that's kind of how I felt. Is, hey, they're awful. Let's try this. It's like I tell my son all the time in soccer. When you're in practice, try things that you don't normally try. Because if you fail, it's practice. Who cares, right? It's almost the way this felt. Is, hey, we got some wrinkles. Let's try those. Now, some of them worked, and maybe they'll carry them forward. We'll see. Interesting thing that I found when I was looking at it. So we had 220 yards of total offense, not counting the lost yardage for sacks. And of the 220 yards, 149 of them, so basically 150 of the 220 yards, were gained by rookies. If you add in second-year players like Jamari Thrash and things, that number jumps to 193 of 220 yards of offense were by rookies or second-year players. 27 yards were by guys who might be considered veterans. That's crazy. And is that a reason our offense is so ineffective at times? I didn't really realize we were that young until I was looking into that. looking at the box score and seeing, rookie, second year guy, rookie, second year guy, first rookie, kind of stuck out. So, do I feel any better about the Browns today, even after a couple days later, than I did before the game? No. You think about the teams in the league that might be worse than Cleveland, Tennessee, Miami. Vegas is a mess right now, but I'm still not sure I'd call them worse. Dolphins. Tennessee just lacks talent. The Dolphins are dysfunctional. Mike McDaniel looked out of it, like he could care less. And it looked like it rubbed off on the teams. His hoodie with his sunglasses. I heard somebody say he looked like he was a, Coke dealer on the corner. That's what he looks like, sadly. I know he's not. Doesn't need to. But they seem like it. Sometimes you can watch a team and you can see the failure, like just in the way they carry themselves, not even the play. And nobody looked like they wanted to be there. Nobody looked like they wanted to be involved. Like it was actually sad and hard to watch. I thought they would fire Mike McDaniel. The fact that he still has a job to me is crazy. Having coached before, one of the telltale signs that maybe it's time to move on is when you lose the locker room. Because once you lose the locker room, it's really hard to get it back as a coach. And it just, I don't see anybody that is playing for him or anybody that's playing for Tua. Like it's a weird situation. So I'm interested to see how the Browns do this week against New England. Much, much better team. We're on the road and find out if we figured some things out or if the Dolphins are just that bad. Really the turnovers were the difference in the game. How many times are we going to get 4 turnovers in a game? We're not. So I don't expect this to be the new norm. I think they were just a bad team. Now, I do enjoy doing the rookie report. I like talking about the rookies. Just because we have so many of them. So I'll go over them quickly, but let me pull that up. I'll just go to slide screen. The screen only for now. But Gabriel, he was 13 for 18, 116 yards, got sacked a couple times, had 4 rushes for 12 yards. Nothing he did made me feel any different about him. Like, he was okay. He looks like a guy who should be a backup and will probably remain a backup for a majority of his career once we get a viable quarterback option. Shador, hopefully. A lot of high show throws when he missed, especially throws down the field. Some short throws. There's a couple times he extended plays, which he didn't do. I talked about the last week. He didn't do, where he got outside the pocket and, extended plays a little bit. They didn't seem to run a lot of designed rollouts, which is surprising, but maybe those are coming. And he had a couple tight windows he hit. Guys held onto the ball. So in terms of that, some encouraging stuff. But he wasn't the reason we won. Our defense and the turnover is the reason we won. I don't think he impacted the game in any special way other than he didn't turn the ball over. So maybe that's his superpower as a quarterback, as he doesn't turn the ball over. Oh. Now, Judkins, on the other hand, interesting game. He had 25 rushes for 84 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 25 rushes for 84 yards. A little over 3 yards a carry. Not great. But think about this. He had 84 total yards rushing. He had 94 yards after contact, which means he was repeatedly getting hit in the backfield. Now, last week was his least productive week as a pro. Now, not his most yardage, but his most productive game. His 46-yard touchdown was a great run. Nobody caught him from behind. He had a 17-yard run early that was a great bounce out. Guy broke a tackle, had a one-on-one. That actually might be that picture right there, but that I have showing on the screen, or I did have showing on the screen here. Let's pull that up. Boop, that picture. So it's a tough game. They stacked the box. They knew we were only going to run it. But his Wildcat touchdown, where he spun off the defender, got into the end zone, just great instinct, great footwork, great balance. But here's the thing. If you take away, and I know, you could do this for a lot of people, but he had a run of 46 yards and a run of 17 yards, both early. His touchdown, and then I think it might have even been his second run. That was a 17-yarder. 17-yarder, that's not an outlier. That happens. But for instance of this, you take those two runs out. He had 23 other runs for 21 total yards. That's less than a yard a carry on 23 carries. So, again, getting hit in the backfield, I'm not saying it's all his fault, but, one of the things, even behind injured lines, so I'm not ready to crown him as the next Nick Chubb, is Nick Chubb rarely had a situation where he was getting a yard or less per run. So, not saying that I like Judkins less. I think he's absolutely fantastic. I think he's more dynamic than Nick Chubb. I think he's got a little more shift in him, and I think that's going to make him a more versatile back. And knock on wood, his injury history is way different than Nick Chubb's too. So I love him. He's the best player on the Browns, not named Miles, and this year maybe even better than Miles, because Miles has fallen off until this game. Dylan Sampson, he fills his role, nothing more. I mean, that's kind of his weekly job, is come in for a few plays here and there, get a few rushes as a change of pace, catch a pass or two. I like him, but he's probably, of all the rookies, the one settling into his role better than the others, just because there's nothing expected of him outside of his role like some of these other. Fannin, 4 catches for 36 yards. Again, had the most targets, 5 targets. A lot of them are dump-offs, but I love when he catches the ball because he does not get tackled by the first tackler. He's taking somebody with him, in a lot of cases, 2 guys with him. I very well could see a trade where we talked about last week, where they get rid of Njoku and make Fannin tight end 1 and just start the youth movement. And not that Njoku, I love Njoku, but it's almost like he put on too much weight this offseason, and he's running a lot slower and stiffer than usual, and so maybe Fannin is a better option anyway. Graham, best game in a month, easily. Getting into the backfield, a few disruptive plays, we heard his name called. We haven't been. Bad team, or is he figuring things out as a rookie? I don't know. Coincidentally, it's also the day that Hunter had his best game as a pro. So, it's something to keep an eye on. Hopefully he continues to disrupt games and, kind of clog up the middle. Swessinger, still one of our best defenders everywhere. My favorite play, I don't know if you guys, but there was a play where he got outside. He was taking on a blocker with one hand, and A-Chain came running right at him and tried to run him, and he didn't even move. He just took the blocker with one hand, A-Chain with the other, and tackled them both essentially. Took them both down. That was a man's man play that I'm not sure there's a whole lot of linebackers in the NFL that can make that type of strength play. Standing still with a guy pushing you and a running back trying to run you over, and you tackle them both and don't even get moved. It was impressive. And he did have another sack negated due to a penalty. So he had 7 tackles and a tackle for loss, but he could have had a sack too. Once again, led the team in tackles. So, great game for him. Now, Isaiah Bond, that's an interesting one because I don't remember him even being on the field. He wasn't on the injury report. I looked afterwards, like, did I miss him? And I don't remember seeing him. So I don't know if because of the wet, they figured his speed would be negated. I don't know. It's bizarre, but again, something to keep an eye on. So we talked about this stuff last week. I actually put these on here. I left them on here because I wanted to be able to talk, have Jason and have some back and forth. We'll get back to that with them. Like I said, Cavs opener tonight, actually here in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to get that on once we're done. Keys to victory, tonight is physicality. The Knicks are a team that play physical. They're going to get after you. They got some really tough wing defenders. They're big, they're physical, but they're not deep. So if you can handle the physicality and get them into foul trouble, I think this becomes, or turn it into a track meet, that favors the Cavs. Early season importance, it's hard. I think, going back to the game, the other thing is Donovan loves Madison Square Garden. So, but I want to see Mobley and Allen step up to the physicality and, kind of meet that head on. I want to see Mobley go through somebody's chest. I want to see that. So we'll see. I'm interested to see who their third and fourth scoring options. Third is most likely Hunter. I don't see it being anybody else. But that fourth one right now with DG and Strus out will be interesting. I actually think it's going to be Tyson. I think he's going to be the guy that comes off the bench and almost like Ty Jerome, when he gets the ball, his job is to look to score. I don't know. That's my guess. But early season, I think we've got to find, what's the rotation, develop the rotation. Are you going to play Dean Wade or Thomas Bryant? To me, it's not even a question. I know Dean Wade can play perimeter defense better than Bryant, but Bryant is the veteran. He's more experienced. He can shoot the ball better. And Dean Wade is like, he'll make 6 and then he'll miss his next 30. I'm not a big Dean Wade fan. And then the other rotation part I'm interested to see, and I think this will change as the season goes on, is do they go with Proctor or do they go with Craig Porter Jr.? And I think to start, it'll be Craig Porter Jr. if there's any minutes at that level of the rotation. But I think as the season goes on, I think Proctor will actually beat him out. I'm real high on Proctor in the game that he brings. For I think the early season's important? No. I think the early season important is just health. Don't get hurt. Don't get guys injured. Stay healthy till we can get DG and Strus back, and then you'll find our rhythm. Kind of protecting guys a little bit, maybe going a little deeper. I'm not saying limit minutes, but shorter stretches of minutes. So instead of playing, 7-8 minute rotations, maybe you're playing 5-minute rotations. Instead of getting a 4-minute break, you're getting a 2-minute break. I'm talking more for the starters. The other thing I'm interested to see is one of the things in the preseason, and they were shooting passing lanes. They were getting hands on a lot of balls. They were just a lot of steals. And last year, they were much more reserved. They were much more willing to just keep the ball in front of them, to help, recover, contest shots. So is their defense going to be a little bit more in your face, but a little more willing to get beat off the dribble? I don't know. We'll see. Unlikely predictions just for fun. For me, I think Mobley, I said good and bad. My good predictions, I think Mobley makes All-NBA team. And I think he averages a double-double for the first time in his career. He's usually around eight rebounds a game. I think he ends up more like a 22-11 type season. And able to make All-NBA. Bad, I think there's a world where Jarrett Allen becomes your bench player and Larry Nance becomes your starting 4. and then you've got 5 shooters on the floor to start a game, it changes things. So, and you don't lose anything really defensively because Larry Nance he's not as athletic as he used to be, but he's still long and he's still very athletic compared to most. My season prediction, I think they're going to slow play the year. I don't think they're as concerned about number 1 seed and score differential and winning 15 games in a row. And I think they're more about conditioning, health, and rotational function. What works, what doesn't, what lineups work against different types of opponents, those types of things. So I think they end up at 56-26, and I think they actually are second in the East. I think New York will actually be the number 1 seed. Just with the way they play, they play every game like it's their last, which isn't bad. But I think that's where the Cavs are going to be. Like I said, they tip off here in about 5 minutes. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what they do. I'm kind of interested because I like the new pieces they have. And I know it sounds bad, I like the pieces they got rid of. Ty Jerome couldn't guard, Okoro couldn't score, those types of things. And I think when you add Proctor, Ball, which is another one I want to see what their role is with Ball ongoing. Ball, Nance, Bryant. Like, those are all guys who could be in the rotation. They won't all be, but could be in the rotation at playoff time. They're capable. So we'll see. Last topic, really, just kind of go through the Buckeyes win over the Badgers. What happened to Wisconsin? Like, growing up, Wisconsin was always like bully ball, run it down your throat, come at you every play. Like, you had to beat them. This team was just not good. They were shut out in back-to-back games. Actually, Luke Fickell being their coach, I said it's almost like he's Luke Fizzle. But Sam looked fantastic. His accuracy is so impressive. He was 36 of 42, almost 400 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 94 QBR. And the best thing about him as a young quarterback is he does not force anything. He drops back, and he's learning to read the defense, and he takes the first guy that's open. Like, he's not forcing passes to try to get Jeremiah Smith touches or Cardinal Tate touches or Max Clare touches. Like, they get them because they end up open, but he hit 10 different receivers, just passing the ball all around the field. 10 different receivers. 36 completions to 10 different receivers. That's fantastic. That's spreading the ball. And I don't think he is yet, but he has to be in the Heisman conversation if he continues to play like this. The run blocking was the one thing I was like, man, just was not good. Now, Wisconsin's defensive line, they by and large have played well all over the year, but their last 2 games they gave up, I put down here 385 yards versus Michigan and Iowa at 5.5 yards a carry. We got 28 carries for 98 yards at 3.5 yards a carry, and they really neutralized Bo Jackson. Like, he looked like a normal running back when all year he's looked fantastic. So hopefully that was just the matchup with their defensive line versus ours. But I was not impressed with our run blocking. Constantly getting in the backfield as plays were developing and not pushing the line back. Carnell Tate, is he the second best receiver in the country? I think there's a case for that to be made. 6 catches, 111 yards, two more touchdowns. The first touchdown catch was ridiculous. He caught it while jumping backwards and double covered in the back of the end zone. Like, it was just fantastic. So maybe the Browns can get him next year. Arvell Reese, too, number 8. That guy's a beast. I put, is he the second best defensive player in the country behind Caleb Downs? Like, could we really have the best 2 wide receivers and the best 2 defensive players in the country? Because he disrupts so much. Anytime there's a big play, he is involved. So in every game, I feel like he gets better as I watch him. Same with Max Clare, or as I've named him, Eclair, Electric Claire. Had 5 more catches, only 29 yards, but again, that's the routes he was running, and those were the plays where, Sayan just dumped it down and gave it to him. But he is open. He knows he got good hands. I don't know. Every game I feel like he gets better too. But last thing I'll say on this, because it was an ugly game overall. Now, you could tell the defense wanted the shutout of the game, so I'm glad they got it. But the best play of the game. So late in the game, Wisconsin false started. And not a big play, right? But the official gets on the microphone and he says, false start on the offense on everyone but the center. I thought it was funny. Like, it was hysterical that he actually said that instead of naming a number or a couple numbers on everyone but the center. And sure enough, you watch the replay, everybody goes and the center doesn't hike the ball. So I'm guessing the center was wrong on that, but still very funny. Last few things. Should Shador have played after they put Quinn Ewers in? When Miami put Quinn Ewers in, I've heard a lot of people say no, there's no benefit. He's just going to hand the ball off. But here's the thing. Twice. The Ravens game and what was the other game? There's another game. I can't remember. When Joe Flacco was our quarterback, Dylan Gabriel got in at the end of the game and just handed the ball off. So that's the precedent that Kevin Stefanski set. And he didn't follow that precedent with Shador. So you can say, yeah, what good does it do? There's no reason for him to go in. He might risk injury. Well, so might Dylan Gabriel. All he's going to do is hand the ball. It doesn't matter. It's game time experience. It's the pressure of the moment. It's, being able to lead, the huddle, call things out, read the defense, get a chance to experience those types of things in those moments, builds experience and it builds comfort. But it also builds trust between coach and quarterback. And the fact that he did it with Dylan and not Shador speaks a lot about how he views Shador, or better yet, how he wants Dylan to be his quarterback because that was his choice. My opinion, but precedent proves that he generally will put in his second-string quarterback in those situations. Now, could it be because we were losing the other ones? Maybe. Maybe not. Okay. David Bell. Oh, I didn't even pull that up, guys. I'm sorry. Let me go back to that. There we go. Forgot I had it on the full camera. Did I do it on this one? No, I didn't even do it on the Ohio State one. So I apologize. I forgot all about that. And I did do that one, right? Yeah, I did do that one. Okay. There's the Buckeye one. There we go. Let's start with around the league. Like the Colts. It's tough not to like the Colts. Another redemption story, and Daniel Jones, another quarterback redemption story. Jonathan Taylor, I love watching him run. Tyler Warren, I said when they drafted him, I was like, I think he's going to be special. Michael Pittman, it's hard not to like the Colts. They play the right way, complimentary football, both sides of the ball. Are they Super Bowl caliber? I don't know, but right now it looks like they are. Until a team proves them otherwise. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Went down the wrong pipe. Are the Chiefs back and healthy? Or healthy and back? They look good on Sunday. Was it 21-0 at half? They dominated the game. Patrick Mahomes had receivers to throw to. Guys caught the ball. They don't have a top-tier receiver like a Tyreek Hill anymore. But, man, they got 5 or 6 guys who would probably be our number 2 receiver. That's still pretty good. And Kelsey. So they've got two complimentary runners they can use. They're just, I think the Chiefs are back. I hate to say it. I think they're finding a rhythm. They're healthy, and they're going to be hard to beat. So those are two things. Just David Bell retirement. I, only because I'm nosy. I would love to know what happened. Like literally said something non-football related. If he played football again, could kill him. But then he said he hopes the doctor continues to find ways to make it so nobody else has to go through it. Like it's really bizarre. I wish him the best. I actually was super high and super excited when the Browns drafted him out of Purdue because I thought, you get dynamic receivers, but you got to have a guy who just can run routes, catch the ball, and just a reliable third down type player. And I thought he would be that. He wasn't. Final stats, 41 catches on 61 targets, 408 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think 2 of those were in one game. He caught the 17 first downs, which means 20 of his 41 catches went for a first down or a touchdown. So not a lot of production, but productive production when he did get opportunities. David Bell, if you ever see this, wish you the best. I'm glad you were a Cleveland Brown. Sorry it didn't go maybe the way you hoped coming into the NFL, but you still left your mark and you'll be forever a Brown. And last thing, I want to congratulate the Jackson Boys Middle School cross country team that my son was a part of. They finished 3rd in the state as a team. Jacob Pyland, one of the runners, he finished 6th overall. And my son was a little dejected. He ran great. It was actually a torrential downpour with 20-mile-an-hour winds. Like running in that was ridiculous. But coming around the last turn to the last run, or the last straightaway, kid behind him pushed him down, and he had a teammate who was behind him who corroborated it. He actually was pushed down in a group of people, and so lost time, lost place. He wouldn't have been, a top runner, but he ran well. This season, his best time was 11 minutes and 20 seconds. Middle school does a 2-mile run. His split was 5:40. My math is correct. So I've never even think I've broken 6 minutes in a mile. So Drake, great job. But that's all I got for you today. Not as long. Not as much newsworthy stuff going on. Plus, I want to get to the Cavs. It's a little after 7, so I'm sure they've started. Hopefully next week I'll have somebody here and you won't have to listen to just me. We can have a little back and forth discussion. Hopefully argue about a few things, knowing I'm right. But come back, watch next week. Please comment down below, on the videos. Let us know your thoughts, feedback, topics, whatever. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, share on the respective platforms. Get our name out there. Again, we're just a couple, 3 guys who have jobs and careers and families and kids, but we enjoy talking Cleveland athletics. So any help and support you can give us to getting our name out there would be much appreciated. Until then, next week, sayonara.